I'm Chuck Duran.
Here we go with part 2 with the phenomenal Andrea Romano. Come with us.
So we made Tiny Toon Adventures, which took off like crazy. It was, but think about this too. Aside from the fact that it was a really good show, very well produced with really good actors, we spent a lot of money. This is now, we're talking 1990 approximately, and we were spending almost $500,000.
Well, those episodes were scored with orchestras.
40-piece orchestras.
I mean, that's
and beautiful
amazing.
time spent and retakes called for because we wanted to get it right and we wanted a really good show, and we made a really good show. And then we started to make Animaniacs, and we were really getting our feet under ourselves by at this point. We knew what we were doing. Animaniacs and the spin-off Pinky and the Brain, which is one of my all-time favorite series.
So
And then
By the way, let's stop real
Yes.
quick, because Jess Harnell is
Our dear,
my
dear, dear friend.
best
Our
friend
best
from
friend.
little kids. And I remember when he went to audition for Animaniacs. So that was like, now you can
it was such a cool
I
audition.
thought it was so cool.
We had done a major, major search for talent for this.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted Rob Paulsen to be Yakko Warner. And in a trick that I'll tell, and I know that Steven Spielberg has probably heard this by now, and we were not trying to be duplicitous per se. But we knew we wanted him so much that when we submitted the auditions, we submitted them by number. Actor number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 of them were Rob Paulsen. Because we just knew he was the guy. We knew we needed him to anchor the show. We also knew we wanted Tress. And we were really struggling to find the voice of Wacko Warner. We had read every voiceover actor, and one of the last actors we saw was Jess Harnell. And we had, actually, I believe it was a callback because we liked his energy, and I didn't know him before, and I liked him so much, and he was so game for whatever you wanted to throw at him.
You were intrigued by the hair.
Always, always.
Right?
And he was just, you know, he's such a sweet man. And he's just like, well, you want me to sound like I'm upside down in a train going 90 miles, you know, whatever. Okay, cool. And we knew he could sing, and it's many, many benefits to it. And you know, you're going to spend 4 hours a week with these actors, and you know, you have 2 actors who are equally talented. One's a lot of fun, and one's a stick in the mud. Who are you going to spend the 4 hours with?
Of course.
And so Tom Ruegger at that point, we're really like going, what are we going to do for Wacko Warner? And Tom had brought in just a book of, it was like celebrities and known entities. And he's like, Jess, can you do any of the Beatles voices? And of course he can do all of them.
All of them.
And when he gets to Ringo, we're like, if we pitch that voice up or speed it, because at the time we still didn't have the technology, that
he goes,
could,
you mean like this?
that could be, and it wasn't we didn't want him to do a spot on Ringo, which he can do. We wanted a cartoonier version of it. And it was just one of those lightning bolts of innovation and creative, having a room where we're like, what do you got? Do you got an idea? And everybody was free to do their thing, and he nailed it. And so that was a beautiful combination of actors. And then Frank Welker and all the other actors that were there. You know, John Mariano, and beautiful, wonderful, versatile actors doing. And what was so cool about Animaniacs was it had little segments. So it had Rita and Runt, and that was an interesting story. We had kind of lined up, you know, you have those moments when actors or personalities of the time are called for. And so Rickie Lee Jones was a happening performer at the time, a singer. And we thought we had her locked in as Rita, the singing cat. And Frank Welker was doing kind of a Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman. No, definitely. But he was dumber. We definitely definitely wanted a dumber, who always thought Rita the cat was a dog. Oh, she's a nice dog. She's a very nice dog. Good dog. Cat. And then we had thought we had Rickie Lee Jones because we wanted a singer, and then she fell out like the week before the first session.
Wow.
And so on a Saturday, I'm sitting at my office with a player's guide, player's directory. Do you know what that is?
No.
For those of you who don't know, it looks like a yearbook, but it's every actor in Hollywood. And it's a little picture of them and their contact information. This is before we had IMDb or that. And they're like volumes and volumes, they're like phone books. And just paging through and looking for who could be good, because we knew we wanted a celebrity, as it were, someone, a known voice for this. We needed to just pepper it a little bit. And then I saw Bernadette Peters' picture, and I went, oh, she would be so perfect. And so Tom Ruegger and I, the producer and I, wrote a very personal letter to Bernadette saying, we have this wonderful show, it's about blah, 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 you'd be playing Rita the Cat, she'd always sing in every episode, and it was not a form offer. It was a very personal, Steven Spielberg's executive producer. We're all huge fans of, would you like to come in? And she got the offer and was very touched by it. And she's a big Cat fan.
Right.
And so, and there was no audition required. We knew her talent. And I think that's part too why celebrities are cast, is that we know their work. We've seen them act. We know they can act. We know they can sing. So they get offered jobs like this. And so she signed on, and I just loved that she did. And so we'd have those little segments of Rita and Runt. We'd have the good feathers, which were the three pigeons. And so we had Maurice LaMarche doing the Ray Liotta impression, and Chick Venera doing the Joe Pesci, and John Mariano doing the De Niro. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful. And it called upon, and it was nice to do those little segments, you know, and they'd have Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and Pinky and the Brain, which was so popular that it had to have its own spin-off. And one of my favorite, is one of my favorite shows, and it still holds up. And then the action shows came up. We started doing the Batman series, Batman the Animated Series, and then Superman, and the Justice League, and all of those shows. And I'll tell you, I know way more than any 60-year-old woman should know about, you know, who Joe Chill is. Do you guys know who Joe Chill is?
You're on the pulse, man.
Do you know?
I don't.
Joe Chill is the guy who killed Bruce Wayne's parents in Crime Alley. Yeah,
see, I don't think a lot of people know that.
But see, that's
Except
why
for the
you're a
diehard
brilliant
fans.
director.
Well,
because
see,
you
I
have
learned.
all the
I had
backstories.
to. I had to learn.
The
I
pre-life, all
didn't
that.
when I started, but I worked with the producer Bruce Timm, who knows all things comic. You know, he just knows every bit. And so whenever I didn't know, I'd go, Bruce, can you explain to me? And he would go, oh sure, this is so and so, and we'll find out later that he becomes and and so I had this encyclopedic knowledge that I could call upon. And I loved the fact that it was not all silly stuff. I like the diversity of directing a Batman and then a SpongeBob SquarePants.
So you're obviously offered a lot of projects. Do you have a kind of a criteria for what you'll say yes to and what you'll pass on?
I absolutely do. And it begins with how many projects I'm doing at the time. Because regardless of what the money is or the talent involved, I will not sign on for a project if I can't give it the attention that people expect based on my reputation. They know that if I sign on, I'm going to take care of a whole bunch of stuff for them. I really am. I'm going to be hands-on. People who hire me, when I do say yes, I really do believe they sigh a sigh of relief because they know that I will take care of them, that I will not walk in unprepared, that they're going to get the best possible cast, that they're going to get the best possible recording. So that's my first determination is how many other things am I doing and when does this record and when do you need this done by? Because I'm offered everything from video games to pilots to series to things that are going to go on for a long time, and that's a criterion too. Is this a one shot that'll be really intense for a month and then we'll go away for a long time and then maybe we'll get picked up and I'll deal with again? Or is this something that you're going to need me every week for the next 3 years? Or is it a movie? What is it? That's my first criteria.
Well, nowadays, what is more appealing to you? Something quick or something longevity?
I actually like the combination because some series do take hiatuses, and so during that time when there's that downtime, it's like, okay, I could do a Fast and Furious pilot for you, and so that's part of my determination as to what I do. Then I ask to see the material and see if I like it, because if I'm going to spend time with it, I have to make sure it's something that appeals to me. And I don't like everything. I don't. There's some cartoons that just I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why it's popular. And it's not to say it's not a valid entertainment. It's just not my thing, and I'm not going to be able and I'm not going to be able to bring what I bring to a project to it. And then as I start working through it, I'm like, okay, I ask for a conference call with the people involved, the executive producers, the showrunners, the writers, the animation guys. You know, I want to know. I want to have a conference.
You're the conductor.
That's right. And when I can, I like to meet with them. I don't often have time to meet with them in person and do the face-to-face, which I really like doing. But I'll happily do a conference call just to find out whether or not we should pursue it any farther. And so I always give them my quotes as to, you know, and my quotes range, and I always give them the range. It goes, my casting goes from this to this.
Yeah, from
but
$1 to $1 million.
It kind of is.
If I like it, it's going to be upwards of the million. Yeah.
And I'll be able to give you a very specific at the end of the story.
You don't have to share your W-2s with Chuck. Chuck likes,
I do like to see him, though.
He likes to get TMZ. No.
Well, the truth of it is, how we voice directors make our money is by quantity. Because we don't make a lot of money on any one project. We get paid because we do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because we do,
And so kind of like a voiceover actor, they don't get paid a massive amount, but if they get a series
Yeah.
and then they do commercials and a game here,
Yeah.
then they make money and the residuals help. We voice directors don't make residuals.
Yeah.
When I do voice some stuff, I do get some residuals and that makes me very happy.
Yes.
But as a voice director or a casting director, there are no residuals involved. So I give them the range, and once they know the range, they can say, you know what, we already know we can't afford you, or let's take the next step. So then I start speaking with the people, and I have a list of questions I ask them. And based on if they even have an answer to those questions, helps me start to make my decision. Are you a SAG signatory? Well, we will be when this. Already, I'm a little antsy.
Yeah.
Okay, because the first thing the agent's going to say when I come to them with a casting is, who's the signatory?
Right.
And then as soon as they hang up the phone with me, they're going to call SAG and say, is this project registered? And if it's not, they're not going to do the auditions for me. And I don't blame them.
right.
Why would they go through all the work that auditions entail only to find out, oh, they didn't get the signatory papers in time and
Right,
they can't,
right.
they're going to go non-union. Well, they don't want to give me their ace talent for non-union work.
This is back-end info here, people.
Right.
It's good, isn't it?
Listen
Well, and
up.
it also
It's good.
speaks
Yeah.
to your side of it, which we'll talk more too, is what kind of production team are you working with and what kind of headaches is it going to cause for you if they
That's
don't have their
right.
act together?
That's right. It's
'Cause you're
exactly
stuck
what I'm
with these
trying to
people.
feel out. Exactly, during this conference
Yeah.
call. So I asked them that. I'm like, okay, do you have a final script? Yes, we do. It's polished, it's ready to go. Great. No, well, it will be, you know, in about 2 weeks when we get it from the writer.
Really?
Well, that doesn't mean it's polished and ready. That means that's the first draft you're getting from the
Right,
writer. And so those kinds of questions I start to ask. And then I start to just feel out the way they talk and their passion for the project and their respect for actors. And are you looking for a celebrity-driven project?
Yeah.
Do you have the dough for a celebrity? Are you going to ask me to go out to agents to send me their #1 ace celebrities for double scale? Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to a celebrity without being able to offer them a big chunk of change. And
So it's more than a double scale?
some are like, you know, I'll say, I'm not going to go out to that actor for less than $5,000.
Okay.
I'm just not even going to ask them. They make that, they're not going to leave their bed for less than
Yeah, of course.
$5,000.
Right.
And so, you know, I have a pretty good bead on what the going rate
Yeah.
is. And then I also want to know what their production period is. Okay, so from this point that we're having this conversation, when do you want to be recording by? Okay, do you have a recording studio already set up? No, we don't really know what's available. We'd like to leave that to you.
boy.
Fine.
Wrong answer?
Yes, exactly. That's fine, but it's kind of a wrong answer. But if they say
Yeah.
we want to leave that to you, Andrea, then they've redeemed themselves by the end.
Okay,
Right.
Because I know the good
'Cause you
ones.
know the good
I do.
ones.
And some of them have friends. Oh, I got this friend who's got a studio, and you know, I can just see it's
Oh,
got
boy.
egg crates on the walls,
boy.
and you know, a
No.
microphone that
Yeah.
doesn't pick up
Somebody's
anything.
garage in North
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Exactly
It's
right.
not going to happen.
So there's a bunch of those questions, and then sort of they don't realize it, but they're being auditioned. They are, and I know
Yeah.
that I am as well.
Yeah.
And I sometimes intimidate people with my questions because the other people that are meeting with them are like, sure. Whatever. And good for them. You know, they're hungrier than I
Right.
am. And that's the whole thing where I hold all the cards because
Yeah.
I don't need any more work. I really don't. And I don't mean to sound snobby in
No,
any
my
way.
gosh, but you
I've
have
got-
earned the right to be
Yes.
so selective.
I can, and I always have at least five projects going at any
Yeah.
one given time. So it's not like I'm looking for work. And when I have those occasional half days when I'm not in a recording studio, so I can prep my work during working hours instead of 4 o'clock in the morning, I kind of savor those, and
Yeah,
I
you
don't
wanna
have to
have a
fill them
life.
with work.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need that. You need
Yeah.
And so what that often does is when I tell that to people, prospective employers, that for some reason they seem to like, that makes me more appealing.
It
They want me
does.
more. And I'm like,
Everyone
okay.
wants what they don't think they can
Exactly. It's like the boyfriend in high school. The one that says no is the one you want to go
Yes,
after, right?
yes.
But so, and that gives me a little bit of negotiating clout. And I'm like, oh, here's the reality, you guys. For me to give up that free time, I'm going to have to charge you this much.
Yeah.
And some of them say, okay, and some of them say, we just can't afford you. I'm like, please, no hard feelings. I get it. You have a budget. You have to work from within your budget. It's all good. You don't hurt my feelings by telling me you can't afford me. It's fine. But I'm not going to pull my price down because I don't say these words to them, but I already see where the nightmares are.
Right.
I see a formula for failure here. And I know when I can really help their project, and I'll tell them that. I'm like, you need somebody like me on this.
Right.
Yeah.
Or why are you not using the guy who directed the video game? You're making a series based on the video game. Why aren't you? And I expect the other directors to do that, to respect me the same way. Why aren't you using Andrea? She directed the series. Now you're making the video game. Why aren't you using her? That's just one of those polite things.
Yeah.
Just as an actor would say, wait, so-and-so's done that voice for the last 5 years. Why aren't they doing it? Now, if that actor says, I don't want to do it anymore, then that's fine. Audition for it.
Right.
If it's a negotiation issue where, like The Simpsons, when they were all, we're not gonna, we're looking for sound-alikes for The Simpsons. I love the feeling, don't audition for it. There's a deal to be made there, and they will make it, and you'll get known as being a scab, and someone will go in. Now, if Dan Castellaneta said, I'm done doing Homer. I'm going to go off and do something else. By all means, go in there and show them your best.
After 25 years, I think they've earned the right to be who they're going to be. Yeah.
And I think they deserve the right to negotiate down to the last minute. And we all could see the handwriting on the wall. Those deals were going to be made, although a lot of people auditioned.
Right.
Now, agents will fight with me on that. They'll be like, no, I want my clients to audition. I just think it's skeevy.
Yeah. We're with you on that.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so as I feel out all the energy and what the project will take, then the final decision is the money. Because I've given them the parameters of my fee, and then I go, okay, in order to get me through the door, I'm gonna have to charge this much because this is a nightmare. Or this is a lovely project. I like all these people. I know they have a finite budget. They're gonna trust me and they're not gonna question me. They all seem to be on the same page. All the questions I asked them, they all agreed on the answers.
Right,
They're not going, no, we want a much older guy for that character. They're all saying the same things. Then I'll go for the lower end of my rates.
Right.
And then it's just a matter of making the deal. And there's things to be negotiated in my deal, like end credits.
Yeah.
When people go, we can't really give you a single card billing. I'm like,
man.
billing is such an easy thing for you to give.
Yes.
It's cheap.
It's
It's
cheap.
really cheap, and it makes everybody feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And why should I, after 20 years of getting single card billing, not take that? So if you're not going to give me the single card billing, I'm going to charge you way more money. So either give me the single card billing or pay me a lot more money. And they almost always go, okay, we'll give you the billing.
We'll give you the free card.
Well, because it's interesting because, you hear about, but I think it's interesting for people to hear the challenges that you have and being freelance. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're amazing and you're the most sought after director. We get that, but even still,
I have
you
to fight for everything. And I'm my own agent. I don't have an agent. And so that works in two different ways. Having been an agent, I know how to negotiate. But, for example, when I'm, say, casting, and I'm dealing with an agent, and they're giving me a hard time about their talent. No, they get this, I may get cranky with the agent. I don't get cranky with the actor.
Yeah.
And that's what the agent's job is. That's why they get their 10%. That's how they earn their commission, is they get to be the jerk in between, and they get the best deal for their client. When I act as my own agent, when I'm negotiating, sometimes the employer thinks I'm a jerk because I'm going, hey, I made this much for the last project. Why should I work for less for this one?
Absolutely.
If you have a good reason, give me the reason why. Well, we're going to give you this much merchandising, or we're going to give you this, or we're going to give you a year's free subscription, whatever. But
The TV guide.
Oh, but whatever. It's like if you have something, then let's talk about that. But sometimes it works against me. Usually it works for me because it cuts right to the chase. It's like, here's my fee, but you got to give me the single card.
Yeah.
And the other thing why I ask and can justify my single card billing is I've worked so long in the industry that my name does carry some weight.
Yeah.
So when people see my name on a project, it does get them to watch. And when I do every Comic-Con and things I do, people always say to me, Andrea, when I see your name on it, I know it's going to have a quality voice cast in it. And that costs a single
and the fact
card.
that you are on these panels and you have an autograph line, people clearly are interested in not just the voice talent. They're interested in, I mean, because
it's weird.
Where would the voice talent be without You Are the Guide?
It's so weird that people know who I am and what I do. A lot of that's the DVD extras and the Comic-Con appearances and stuff. But and here's a great story for you. I used to be a mail order junkie. I mean, really, like, always.
I thought you were saying mail order bride.
No, mail order junkie. I was always ordering from catalogs, always.
Oh, no.
And so now it's a little bit more internet shopping, because I hate to shop for clothes. I just hate it. So I had bought something that I really, really liked, but the size wasn't exactly right. And so I wanted to have another one shipped to me. I was keeping the oversized one because you never know.
Right.
And then want to get the smaller size. So I call up, and having been, see, this all goes around, having done phone solicitation, I always say, hello, my name is Andrea Romano. How are you today? The voice director? This is what the guy on the other end of the phone says. With, some mail order. I forget. It was some, J. Crew or something. And I'm like, do you really know who I am?
Yeah.
I just got Superman last night and I loved it so much, blah, blah. And
I love it.
So it was just,
That's cool.
in the last few years, I've had to admit that I have achieved a bit of fame, which is remarkable and wonderful, and I embrace it and love it.
Well, and you're so humble about it. It's not like you're walking around, I do know who I am. But I love that it's very easy to celebrate the celebrity doing the voice, or the or the voice actors doing the voices, and the director. But I mean, it's like you should get your moment.
Absolutely.
I mean, because it is a team. It's not just
it is
a
team.
single
It is a team,
entity.
and I also want people to know when they watch a project. There's the unusual projects that I do, like directing the Boondocks, which you normally wouldn't think of a Italian girl from Long Island to direct a very, black show and dark and wonderful. And Aaron Magruder, thank you, thank you, thank you. And projects like, I went up to Marin County. They flew me for a day to direct Metallica. In a short, and who would have ever? I'm sitting there truly.
In a million years, you
Not
never
in
thought
a
that was going to happen.
million years, and
That's
all these
cool.
wonderful, celebrities and talents, and would I ever have imagined that Mark Hamill would have his agent call me to say, "I want to be a part of the Batman show," and then become friends with Mark.
Well, and you cast Kevin Conroy as Batman.
I found Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
I found, and again, this big circle of life. We were trying so hard to find, we'd found a couple of guys that we really liked and we were okay, but nobody had really just made us wild. Anthony Barneo, my roommate from Fredonia, the agent at Ann Wright, who helped get me into the industry.
Who got you out of San Diego.
That's right. I'm his roommate here in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, Anthony, do you know any stage actors? Because as you mentioned before, stage actors translate very well into animation. It's got slightly boosted energy. He said, you know what, there's this wonderful actor named Kevin Conroy, and you should probably see him. And we were already at the callback point, so he hadn't done the initial audition. And we brought him in for callbacks, and he just nailed it. I mean, it was one of those aha moments that you dream of.
And
it happened pretty early in my career, which was really like, wow, how did I strike lightning right there? And then here we are, 25 years later, and he's still voicing Batman in so many projects. And then over the years, I've been asked to recast Batman because Warner Brothers would say, we're doing a completely different artistic style. We want different voices to go with it. And it breaks my heart every time, because my first question always is, can I use Kevin Conroy? Can I use Mark Hamill? Can I use Tim Daly? Always wanting to go back to those guys. And then they say, no. And so then I have to start. And casting Batman in the first place was incredibly hard. I listened to well over 500 auditions. I personally auditioned 120 guys just for Batman. And then Superman, and then all the Justice League characters. And then there's, I think, many years ago, probably now it's 10 years ago, someone at Comic-Con told me at that point I had cast Batman 17 times.
Wow.
So, and so what happens now is I go back to the list of actors that I had already gone to and weren't available and get them. And there's a couple coming up in brand new pieces that aren't out yet that I've been after for like 5 or 6 years, and finally their availability opened up and I could get them.
That's really cool.
Really cool.
Do you ever, do you have a list or a pool of go-to people that you
I have go-to people and I have a wish list.
You have a go-to and you have a wish
Yeah,
list. I love
the go-to
that.
people is great. They're my tried and true, dependable.
Don't say anything about the wish list because they're going to want more money now that they know.
Well, the wish list it exists because agents have contacted me and said, I just signed so-and-so, and they want to stay in Los Angeles because the wife is pregnant, and they don't want to go do movies in Prague, or they don't want to go to North Carolina and do a series for, 5 months out of the year, or whatever. And so they go on my wish list. And so I have to find the right project for them to bring them in, but I keep them. And they're also just people that I adore, and I just I will not retire until I can work with John Hamm. I'm just not gonna. I insist. And I was heartbroken when I heard him on Archer, and I went, damn it, somebody got him before I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the first
That's so
director
cool.
to work with John Hamm.
Well, your circles seem to come around.
See,
so I
see?
think he's.
Yeah.
I think he's.
I
Gonna
keep putting it out
course,
there
it's
often
gonna
enough that I'm
happen.
hoping he's going to hear
I
about
can even
it too.
want to bet some
Yeah.
money on that? Of course not, because you know it's going to happen too. I want to ask you because, I mean, obviously, you have, like you said, your wish list. You have, a talent pool of go-to men and women that you love using. And you have your reasons why you love using them, but this is for the people out there, because I have people coming all the time to say, my dream is to become an animation voice actor and do cartoons. And that's not to say that it's not going to happen, because I've seen new people come up and become that. So what do you feel, I mean, with all the background that you have, is a prerequisite, absolutely not negotiable things that you really, really need to actually have the goods?
You have to be a good actor first. That's
Have
number
to be.
one, good actor.
Okay.
And so anybody who wishes to pursue this industry must take acting classes. And there's not an actor working today, any kind of actor, on camera, stage,
Yeah.
whatever, who can't benefit from a good acting class.
Absolutely,
And the best
without a doubt.
actors always do get into classes and just sharpen their instrument and learn, and I suggest classes of groups of people, not private coaching, because there's so much to be learned from other people and their mistakes, and of course acting classes also teach you terminology, so that when someone talks about subtext or pre-life or whatever, you know what the heck they're talking about, and that basic skill is a must. It doesn't matter how many great voices you can do. If you cannot act, you might be really fun at a party, but you're not going to be able to make any money doing this.
Exactly. And the funny thing about that, what you just said, is this. I talk to folks all the time, and one of my go-to questions is, have you had any coaching lately? Who with, and how, and almost nobody in the voiceover industry who's trying to break into it has taken acting classes.
Shame on them.
And they're taking voiceover classes. And I'm like, there's such a huge difference, because it's not
Such a
about the voice
difference.
anymore, it's about the acting.
Absolutely.
And so, just to be clear, acting.
Acting first. Acting first.
Yeah.
It's just you must be a good actor first.
Okay.
And the people that work the most are the best actors.
There
They
you
really
go.
are. Then on top of that, versatility is lovely. But people like Sterling Holloway, who was the original voice of Winnie the Pooh. He had one voice.
One voice,
But he
that's
was so
Yeah.
good at it, and he was such a good actor that he did many different things aside from Winnie the Pooh. So if you have a voice with character, we call it, rather than doing character voices, a voice with character,
characters.
like Ben Stein, who you might know from Ferris Bueller. Class. He does that so well.
Yeah.
That's all he does. So, but you find the right roles for him to play that. We had a character in Animaniacs called Pip Pumphandle, and he would show up at a party with the Animaniacs, and he would start telling these stories that had absolutely no end. And the Animaniacs would be like gnawing off their arms to get away from him and stuff. So you just find the right roles for people who have voices with character. And oftentimes you hear from people who say, they've got those girls who have those baby doll voices.
Yeah.
I was
They
just gonna
always
ask you
sound
about
like
that.
this.
That's okay.
And I'm a waitress, but they've always, everybody always tells me I should get into voiceover, and I'm like,
Who's
great.
gonna listen to this for 4 hours?
Take voiceover classes first,
Yes.
and get some range within that little tiny voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, because I do get phone calls from someone saying, "Hi, my name is so and so, and I'm a waitress at the blah blah blah, and I met this producer that you work with, and he gave me your number." First of all, I'm going to kill him.
Right? Yeah.
And then
Strike one.
But this did happen once when this little 13-year-old sounding actress called me and said, "Hi, my name's Hynden Walsh, and I met blah, 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 and I'm a friend of so-and-so, and I just went, Hynden, forgive me, but how old are you?" "I'm, 30. I'm like, really? You do have a great voice." And she said, I'm a Broadway actress and blah, blah, blah. And I went, "I'm going to audition you." And so now she's a huge voiceover actress.
Yeah.
Right.
And so every once in a while that does play out. So I'm not completely like, I won't hang up on anybody or anything like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Again, I understand an actor's desire to do this thing, and I want to be sympathetic and listen to them. And if they have found a way to get to me, they've already done a lot of work.
Yeah, they're kind of
And
like
so-
you
A little bit,
in that
a
way,
little
so you
bit.
got to
Crafty
respect
little
that.
fuckers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but first they've got to have something. They have to be
Yeah.
a member of the union. They have to have an agent, one or the other, before I'll even listen to their demo.
Sure.
And they have to have a demo. So in your question about how do people, what's the prerequisites? They have to be a good actor first. Then versatility is very, very
Versatility.
nice. Originality.
Originality.
We don't need to hear another Margaret Hamilton witch.
Exactly.
1,000 people
Hello.
do that already. We
Yes.
need to hear a witch that we've never ever heard before. Something that's really bizarre and wonderful and weird.
Yeah.
Impressions are great. Spot on impressions are great, but they're also a great place to jump off of to create new voices.
New voices.
So
Yeah,
you
your
may
version.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you may say, "This is my John Wayne," and it may sound nothing like John Wayne, but it's a hilarious voice.
Yeah.
So what a great tool to
Absolutely.
use. And if you're going to do impressions, again, we don't need another John Wayne. Years ago, the kind of the first voice that came out that people were doing that was an obscure voice impression was Christopher Walken. Now
Exactly.
everybody does it.
Everybody.
And then
Yeah.
every once in a while you'll find these really obscure, weird, where someone does an impression, you go, "That's just great. How come nobody ever did that before?"
Yeah.
And it takes an actor who's working celebrity-wise that has a handle that an actor can
Yeah.
grab onto. And so obscure impressions are excellent.
Yeah.
Singing is a wonderful skill.
Yep.
But you have to be able to sing in character. You can't just have a legitimate Broadway type voice. You have
Right.
to be able to sing in character. And a really good attitude. You just got to have a really good attitude because you have those people that feel like they carry the weight of the world on them when they walk in for an audition, and that ability to let that all go and come in and play.
Yeah.
And if you can't play in a voiceover audition, then you're not.
Forget
It's
about
not
it.
right.
Yeah.
So that's a prerequisite too.
Yeah.
Is that desire to play. And very often when I offer roles to actors, I say to the agent, "Will you ask them if they want to come play?" That's actually the terminology I use.
Yeah.
And sometimes that confuses agents. They're like, "What?" I think they fear that
Meeting
I'm
at
not going to
park,
pay
what's
them.
happening?
Oh yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
going to pay
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, no, I
Is
just
this a
want-
union play or a non-union play?
Exactly. Right. And I'm talking about, will they come and have fun? And there have been some celebrities that I have hired who they didn't get it. And I worked really hard to keep the role for them.
Yeah.
But I make the promise to them that I will not let their voice go out there sounding bad.
Right.
And if they sound bad, I'll replace them.
Yeah.
And so I've had maybe 2 or 3 celebrities that I've had to replace, which has been really sad, and I will not.
Is Chris Rock one of them?
Never.
I'm kidding.
Never.
Well, now there's different opinions, but do you need for animation, even with technology as it is, do you need to be in Los Angeles to do the mainstream animation?
If you are just trying to start a voiceover career, absolutely. I mean, there are certainly some jobs you can get in New York
Yeah.
and in Vancouver. Those are the two. Vancouver has a very large
Yeah.
voiceover community
Yeah,
up there.
for sure.
But the smaller markets, your chances are going to be very small. And for someone like me, I almost insist, certainly for scale actors, on that initial
Yes.
being this, because I can get a performance from you by this. I can look at you and say, it's this. No, it's this. And so as you're working through the scene, I can actually work you through climbing that ladder, and I'll be standing there doing it for you, and that just loosens you up and
Yeah.
lets you do it. And I can't do that over the phone.
Saves time, saves
Right.
money, makes your life
Right.
easier.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I really desire this. I like
Yes.
this, and that's why I do ensemble records and in
Yeah.
person. Now, once you've got 3 or 4 series under your belt, and you decide you're going to go move to somewhere else, your chances for work long distance is much better because we have the technology for it.
Right.
But especially even celebrities, I don't like to work with them for the first time long distance. I like to be in the room. So if that requires me flying to New York, I'll do that. Now, there are some actors certainly that you just really, really want, and they're in England or wherever, and you do it that way. If we can Skype it at the same time that we're recording, at least we can see each other. There's usually delays and bizarre. Skype hasn't perfected it yet. I'm waiting for them to perfect it.
It's coming.
It's getting there, and I love them, and I'm very glad.
They've got HD at least. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do like that. So I don't want to say it's impossible. It's just that your opportunities for that work are not going to be as many. There's just not going to be that many chances for you.
Okay, good.
True.
Well, that concludes part 2 with Andrea Romano, but we're not done.
I don't want it to be over.
It's not going to be over because we have part 3 coming up next week, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to get freaking insanely great. Stay tuned.
And find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and just remember, you always have time for a little buzz.